Yeah, just give me all of the respect. I use your reverence as a reward. They know that I got the power and they looking at me like the source. Take my throne, boy, stop that. I'm on my hill, can't top that. You take this L, yeah, rock that. You know, I never needed a cosign. Yeah, I'm gon' shine. I rock independent.
Good morning, Knicks Universe. KOD Nation, stand up. And all you Degens, wake up and get your coffee. Welcome to this Friday, January 20th edition of the Knicks Morning Brew. I'm chilling with my bro, like always, Fabulous Phil, and the one and only Jiggaman Portito. Fellas, how are we doing?
What up?
Guys, come on. I mean, we got Brett Siegel coming on. We got Eddie. We got trade talks. We got thumbs are missing. I mean, things are weird.
Stuff is happening.
Yeah. You know, we're going to get some Obi conversations. You know, I got to touch on that today. Like, we have to. Yeah. Like, we can't. But, guys, I mean, this is dope. Like, you know, I've been looking forward to this one. It was funny. Look, I'm going to be honest. All right. People are like, oh, man, you got two guests on here today. Right. And most people would be like, oh, that's called double booking. Right. But in this case, when they both gave me their options for dates, I was like, yo, these are two guys we really could talk trades with. All right.
Lined up very well.
Man, this very first one you're about to intro, I'm so glad we got him now before things kick off, because I'm telling you, the only way you're going to see this man after this is when he puts a tweet out. All right. Because he's going to be non-existent from this point on, man.
Yeah. Real Mission Impossible. Go ahead, Phil. My fault. Go ahead.
No. I'm real pumped about it because, like, we talk about it all the time. It seems like anytime, we play somebody, if Tibbs or the front office or the friggin' checkout lady at the New York Knicks, garden, store mentions that someone had a good game, all of a sudden that next morning, it's like the New York Knicks are looking to trade their whole team for this guy, so as Knicks fans, we're always caught up in like potential trade talks. So it's actually cool to have somebody who's like actually engulfed in this, nonstop, that can actually be like, yeah, that makes sense, or no, that's silly, and kind of just shut it down. Like on Twitter, I'm going to argue till I'm blue in the face with people and be like, no, I'm right, but like if he tells me, bro, that's delusional, then I'm going to be like, all right, yeah, it's delusional. So it's kind of cool to be able to like talk trades with someone that actually does this. And Eddie's been the kind of guy that like, Eddie loves trade talks, and I love that, because he's so passionate about it. And a lot of people get passionate on Twitter without actually having stats or facts or anything like that. Eddie will be like, let me break it down to you. When this guy was in high school and his mother did this and made him this, and I'm like, holy crap, it was that meal that made him a good basketball player? Thanks. So being able to have them two worlds collide is going to be a good time.
Yeah, and Brett, obviously the work that he does, helping us navigate the noise that we hear when it comes to these trade rumors. But without further ado, let's bring up the first guest to the panel, Brett Siegel. What it do? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you guys doing?
Awesome.
Doing well.
Good, man. Appreciate you making time to hang out with us, Brett. You know this fan base, man, and we had to come to somebody that can actually help us out when it comes to the crazy talks and crazy trades that are being thrown out there. But before we jump into all that, man, how crazy busy are you? How's life right now? How did you find time to fit us clowns in your schedule? What's going on, Brett?
Well, somehow we're already 3 weeks into the new year. Not really sure how that's happened, but time is just going by, and trade deadline's right around the corner. And before we know it, the playoffs are going to be here. So nonstop action in the NBA, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Awesome.
100%, 100%.
For the people who might be, unfamiliar, with all the work that you do, would you mind kind of like giving them like a little background of what you do, what your expertise is, and like, how you got into this kind of thing?
Yeah, so I'm the NBA insider reporter for Fast Break on Fan Nation. It's a website run by Sports Illustrated. And basically, it's 24/7 NBA stuff, whether it's trade rumors, whether it's who signed where, whether it's who's going to sign where. NBA draft time is obviously a very big time. You have the offseason with free agency and trade talks then. So anything that you want to know about the NBA, we got you covered at Fast Break on Fan Nation. And it even goes down to what players tweeting what and what does that mean necessarily for his future where he is. So it's a great time to be a fan of the NBA. I keep saying it. The talent level is as high as it's ever been. And that makes for some great basketball night in, night out.
Fire. Amazing.
Well, I love the fact that Brett's able to say 24-hour network of NBA. Like, Phil does that anyways. This man, all he does is talk NBA all day long.
Yeah.
Without further ado, let's bring on the next guest. Mr. Eddie Presti himself. Eddie, what it do? Good morning, sir.
What's going on, everybody?
How you doing, man? Appreciate you, Eddie.
Hanging in there, man. Doing all right. How you guys?
Awesome.
Well, guys, it's exciting to have both of you on here, Brett, and you. We were like, man, if we had both of you guys at the same time where we can really talk about some of these trades, this would be a great conversation. Hector, I'm going to let you start, bro, on how you kind of want to lead this trade conversation because you know me. I think they're all awkward right now, all right? I can only yell and scream about the ones I don't like. Take it away, bro.
Well, when it comes to these NBA trade rumors, we hear it all the time, and the big word is rumors, right? So it's hard for us to be able to navigate the sea when it comes to all this noise, whether it's the Twitter space, whether it's the tabloids, whether it's just the headlines, however it is. But having Brett here, Brett's going to be the captain of the ship for this episode. All right, so Brett, hardy, hard, grab your bucket hat and let's go to town right now. So I'm gonna let Eddie kick it off with the first question when it comes to trade rumors for Brett, because Eddie's that type of guy that he walks around New York City, he sees a pigeon on the side of the street, and a trade idea pops in his head. So Eddie, my man, started off with the trade rumors with Brett. Let's try to figure this out, baby.
All right. First thing I'm going to ask you, Brett, what is the deal with Kyle Kuzma? I think every single Knicks fan wants to know what the story is with Kuzma, because I know for sure with Kuzma that there's a path to Kuzma if we don't even trade for him. There's a way if we don't sign and we don't get any more money on the books and we go out this summer and trade Fournier and trade iHeart, we got $28 million in cap space. And that might be enough to land Kuzma this summer. So that's the first thing I'm going to ask you with Kuzma.
Yeah, so Kyle Kuzma's situation is interesting with the Washington Wizards. He obviously has that opt-out option after this year, which all indications point to him wanting to utilize and enter free agency. And that's something he's never done before early on in his career. He's never been a free agent, so he's definitely looking forward to that. And he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, which means he's going to have the full free agent experience of being able to talk to any team that approaches him. He's going to be able to hold meetings with any of these teams. And with that comes competition, and that's something that Kyle Kuzma is looking forward to. He's looking forward to the competition in the summer and seeing what offers are going to be out there for him, because he's having a career year with the Washington Wizards, and that hasn't gone unnoticed around the league. So that's definitely driven up his trade value. In terms of what the Wizards want to do, though, everything that I've heard is that they want to hold on to Kuzma. They want to extend him long-term. They want him to be a part of their core with Kristaps Porzingis, Bradley Beal, and whoever else they potentially bring in either at the trade deadline or in the offseason and free agency. But Kuzma, I mean, there's been really no extension talks being held. He wants to enter free agency, and that kind of seems like the direction we're going. So now the question becomes, is that enough for the Wizards to trade him? Do they fully believe that in the offseason they're going to have a chance to keep Kyle Kuzma? And if they full-heartedly believe that, they're not going to be trading him whatsoever. But if there's a little bit of doubt there, I mean, you have to kind of enter the trade deadline with the mindset of we might as well get something for this guy while we have him instead of letting him walk. So that's really going to be the big question that Tommy Shepard and the Wizards are going to have to answer over these next 3 weeks.
Brett, do you know, I'm sorry, guys. Do you know what it would cost? Do you know what it would cost to get him, like, as of now, like, if we were to trade for Kuzma? What would be the cost? And what would a potential extension look like for Kuzma, or even what it'd get him free agency?
Yeah, so the price is going to be set high by the Wizards right now simply because they don't want to trade him. So I would imagine that's going to be at least one unprotected first-round pick, maybe even throw in a second that is protected. And they're going to want some guys back that are going to be able to contribute right now and come at a decent salary. So you look at the Knicks, a guy like Emmanuel Quickly, I would think would have to be in that deal. If it's not Quickly, then a guy like Obi Toppin for sure, because they're going to want one of these guys that has potential to grow, is on a rookie deal, and can contribute at a high level right away. And both those guys could immediately be of value to the Washington Wizards. So if you're looking at it from a Knicks perspective, I think that's kind of the two main assets that you're looking at. And then obviously all the draft assets that the Knicks have to deal with, it'd be pick and choose there of what Washington's comfortable in bringing in and what the Knicks are comfortable of giving up. So I think that's kind of the value that you're looking at in the trade market. But again, we don't really know the value for any player until we see that first trade go down, because that whole trade between the Timberwolves and the Utah Jazz in the offseason that involved Rudy Gobert, it completely shattered the trade market. And front offices around the league, they have a set idea of what they can get for their guys, but they truly don't know what it's going to look like until the trade deadline comes around. So that's going to be the real interesting thing to watch across the league. In terms of extension talks, I'm not really sure. I mean, it depends, because I don't think he's going to get a true extension. I think it's going to be one of those that he's going to hit the market in free agency, and it's going to be a bidding war for him. And whichever team's willing to pay more for Kuzma's services, I think they're going to wind up with him. Given how well he's played this year and that he's having a career year, I could definitely see a contract upwards of $25 million a year, maybe even more than that. So we'll see. I mean, Kuzma, he's had a fantastic season, and he definitely deserves the payday that's coming his way.
So it's similar to – go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I just want to ask one question, and I'll throw it over to Phil and Jiggaman, and then we can circle right back to Eddie for the next lead-up question. But when it comes to, you said it, the Rudy Gobert trade, right? What was the feeling from the industry, from you guys, the inside guys? What were the thoughts going around in the group chats that you may have with other reporters? Like, how were you guys feeling when you saw that trade and when it was announced?
Yeah, so I mean, there were some people that liked the trade. They thought that Twin Tower lineup between Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns could play together really well. Then Towns gets hurt and it's Gobert by himself, and we've seen how that's worked out with the Timberwolves this year, and it hasn't necessarily been the best offseason acquisition. It's looking like that the Jazz won this trade by a mile so far, and with all the draft assets they gave up for Rudy Gobert, I mean, you're talking about 4 first-round picks and a first-round pick swap. That's something that you would talk about for a top 25 player in this league. Is Rudy Gobert a top 25 player? That's something that's up for discussion with a lot of NBA fans, and the general consensus from people that I've spoken with is that the Jazz have won this trade, and that there's nothing that the Timberwolves can do moving forward or prove that it will pay off in the long run. So we'll see what happens with the Timberwolves at the end of the season. Obviously, Towns coming back will drastically change what happens with them. And then at the trade deadline, you have D'Angelo Russell, who's in the final year of his contract, and whether or not they move him for assets and try to get back some of the draft picks that they traded away to get Rudy Gobert and some of the young assets like Jared Vanderbilt, Malik Beasley, and even Leandro Bolmaro, who is a young player in their system. So it's going to be interesting for sure to see what the Timberwolves do moving forward from that Gobert trade.
Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, that's great. So me, it doesn't seem like, from what I'm seeing, that the Wizards players are wanting the same thing that the Wizards franchise wants. Just hearing the possibilities of Beal wanting to go compete somewhere else while he still can, or even the little hints that Porzingis throws out in his post-game interviews about, his feelings for New York and how, he's hoping that relationship is getting mended and will continue to get mended. Do you think that, that is a possibility as well? We've had the talks of, okay, if Kuzma doesn't come, and you see what we're dealing with when it comes to, centers, and Porzingis is currently playing the center, do you think a homecoming is even a possibility, or just, a New York Knicks fan like myself's fantasy? Do I need to wake up, or is that even a possibility?
I mean, it's certainly a possibility. Yeah, you never know, and you never really know what Kristaps Porzingis' true intentions are. I think right now he's comfortable with where he is in Washington, playing alongside Bradley Beal, and I think that both of them and the front office are of the same mindset moving forward. But with that said, Washington really hasn't found much success in recent years, and that's something that they're really going to have to prove to Bradley Beal, because Beal's becoming an older player in this league. He's been around the block for a while now, and he's in his 30s, and you talk about legacy in this league and leaving your imprint. Obviously, he's done that with the Washington Wizards, and he has a chance to become their all-time scoring leader this season if he comes back and is healthy and can be the Bradley Beal that we're used to seeing. But is that enough? Because, somebody's dog's unhappy. So, I mean, you look at the Wizards and where they are as a franchise. They really need to figure out, okay, you have a number one option in Bradley Beal. You have a number two option in Kristaps Porzingis. Where are you going really with this core? Is this a core that can compete in the Eastern Conference? And right now, it doesn't look like that's the case. Maybe they can slip into the play-in tournament. Who knows? Maybe they can win a couple games in the play-in tournament, get the 8 or 7 seed. But I really don't see them competing in a series against the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks if that's their first round draw. So you look at where they are. Can they fix things through the draft? Probably not, given that they're going to be picking anywhere from like 14 to 18 in the draft. I don't really know if there's a player there as of right now that can immediately come in and contribute at a high level, but who knows? We've seen guys picked in that position before that turn out to be studs in this league. So you never know there, but it all comes down to free agency and the trades that they're able to make. So if they can swing a deal for a Kyle Kuzma or Kristaps Porzingis at the trade deadline, that nets them a lot of value. Yeah, you can never say that that's not a possibility. However, right now, I just think that that's the core that they want to move forward with. And they're going to be much more receptive to moving guys like Will Barton or Monte Morris or Rui Hachimura at the deadline in order to increase their value moving forward.
Yeah, Phil, are you wearing your KP jersey while you asked that question?
No, because
okay, I just had to make sure. Go ahead,
Jiggaman. We literally watched Phil's face go from smiling to sad as Brett explained his answer. All right, he was like, "Whatever, Brett, we're not friends anymore."
Unfollow.
So actually, my question isn't about a specific thing, guys. Mine's more of, with you doing the coverage that you do, Brett, around all NBA, are the Knicks like one of the main teams that you constantly see more than any other team that's automatically tied to every trade possible? Or are there other fan bases and teams that we just don't notice because we're so in our Knicks universe? But I feel like it's us more than anybody. Am I crazy?
Yeah, from a fan base perspective, I feel like that it's nonstop talk from you guys 24/7 because that's just New York sports, man. I mean, you look at the Yankees, you look at the Mets, and all the Giants, the Jets. The fans are always wanting the teams to make moves, So I think that just kind of comes with the fan base, and I think that you look at the Knicks in the East, and then you look out West. It's always the Laker fans talking about what's their team going to do, and offering the trade package of Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks for absolutely anything in this league. So it's nonstop chatter from you guys. And I mean, it goes back to the fan base always wanting the best for the franchise. It's 2 passionate fan bases that I just talked about there, and 2 historic fan bases and historic franchises in this league as well. So it's nothing but high expectations in New York. That's for sure.
Yeah, because I'll tell you guys now, I mean, I'm amazing at making trades in NBA 2K, but the stuff you guys put out, I can't ever figure out the math ever at all. Eddie, I know you had another question you want to throw out there, man. Go ahead, bro.
Well, obviously, after Mitch went down, things kind of changed for the Knicks. I mean, if you look at the next 20 games on their schedule, it's not looking good. So what I'm going to ask you about, are there anybody like, backup center types that the Knicks could be able to acquire without giving up, the farm for?
Yeah, I mean, the center market's a little weird because there's not a big name really available as a center like there was Domantas Sabonis last season. I don't really see a player like that becoming available in the front court. You're looking at names more like Nerlens Noel, who the Knicks gave up to the Pistons last year at the draft. You have Rashawn Holmes from the Sacramento Kings, who's going to be available. And then just a bunch of kind of backup options. So in terms of replacing Mitchell Robinson, that's an interesting question because they did just give him that extension, and he's going to be under contract for 3 more seasons after this year. Mm-hmm. So what's his future looking like? Because it seems like every year they're dealing with him being on the injury report and missing games. So they were at a situation this past offseason where they kind of had to extend Mitchell Robinson because they didn't really have any other options there at the center position. They brought in Isaiah Hartenstein, but they wanted him to be more of a change of pace and a backup center for them. So we'll really get to see kind of what does life look like for the Knicks without Mitchell Robinson right now. Will they move Julius Randle over to the 5 and kind of insert Obi Toppin there and have both of them running? Will they have Isaiah Hartenstein starting at the 5? Will they bring in Jericho Sims? which I think is definitely an option for them, given that he's been a part of their rotation as of late. And he's a high-flying center out of Texas, and I watched a lot of him in college, and I do like Jericho Sims. I think that he has a lot to offer in the Knicks system, especially since they play a lot of pick and roll. So I think that could definitely be an option for them moving forward is go with Jericho Sims and maybe look to trade Mitchell Robinson, whether I don't think it would be now at the trade deadline, but maybe in the offseason, he would be somebody that they look to unload salary of to bring in another big name. But I'm not really sure. I mean, the center market is very, very interesting, especially because you don't have a player like Miles Turner necessarily available. Indiana doesn't want to give up Miles Turner, and that seems to be the case for the last 2 to 3 trade deadlines. It always seems like we're talking about Miles Turner being on the move, and Indiana just says that they want to keep him. So I think that he will obviously be a player that other teams inquire about, and that's being Miles Turner. I think you have Rui Hachimura, who we mentioned as well, who's a power forward from the Washington Wizards. You have John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks, who's going to be a very hot name. And then who knows what happens with the Toronto Raptors. That seems to be the big team that people are watching right now. What are they going to do with Gary Trent Jr.? Is OG Anunoby available? And then if they truly decide to blow things up, could Fred VanVleet and maybe Pascal Siakam be on the move? And Siakam, if he hits the market, that's going to be a player that almost every other team in the league is going to want to try to inquire about and offer their best assets for. So I think that's really what you're looking at in terms of the big man market. I think it's small, but there is value to be had there with guys like Noel, Rashawn Holmes, maybe even John Collins as well.
Yeah, awesome. If I may, just throw a question from the chat, and I'll throw it to Phil right afterwards. But shout out to Chris Joseph in the chat. Everybody that's in the chat. He said, "Can someone ask Brett if he thinks any team are actually interested in Cam or Fournier? We obviously want to trade them, but who really needs them? So when it comes to those 2 players, Cam Reddish and Evan Fournier, what's your feel from the market when it comes to those 2?"
Yeah, so Cam Reddish holds a bigger market than Evan Fournier simply because he's a younger player on an expiring deal, and he's shown flashes of what he can do on the offensive end of the floor. And that's something that some teams do like in this league. The Los Angeles Lakers and Milwaukee Bucks are both 2 teams that have shown interest in him in the past. And then even a team like the Phoenix Suns, they need some shooting help and some scoring help out on the wing. He's a low buy type player that they could give up maybe 1 or 2 second-round picks and get him for, because the value on Cam Reddish has decreased drastically due to the Knicks simply not playing him. If they were playing him and he was having good performances like he was at the beginning of the season, his value could maybe net them a protected first-round pick. Now, I don't think that's a possibility. I think that you're looking at second-round picks for Cam Reddish and maybe just like a role player on the side for him. So will he be traded at the trade deadline? I fully believe he will. I think that this marriage has ended between him and the Knicks. I think he wants a fresh start. I think the Knicks want a fresh start. And I truly don't understand what the thought process was last season when they traded for him. Because if you're going to trade for a player like Cam Reddish, who's on a rookie deal, he's shown his potential with the Hawks, you're going to play him. He's going to be like a 6-man, 7th-man off the bench for you guys. And that just hasn't happened simply because I guess they don't like his defensive effort or something on that end of the floor. So, I mean, all the potential and all the skills there offensively for Cam Reddish to be a good, sustainable 10, 11, 12 point per game scorer off the bench in this league. It's just all about fit at this point. And I think that those 3 teams that I mentioned in the Bucks, the Lakers, and the Suns, I think that he could absolutely be a key contributor for them off the bench. When you look at Evan Fournier, I think that his contract is going to be a little bit tougher to move. And we kind of saw that with some reports earlier this season of, well, they'd have to attach a first-round pick or attach a player like Emmanuel quickly to the fold to move Evan Fournier's salary. I think that's still the case, and that's another situation if he hasn't played much. So teams around the league, they don't really know what Fournier can give them. He's a veteran in this league. He's a good 3-point shooter, but he hasn't played much this year, and there's always a concern about durability and his physique when you trade for a guy like that that's just been riding on the bench. And is he going to be durable enough for you the rest of the season to make a playoff push? If you're one of these teams, that's fine for a veteran like that. So I think that Evan Fournier will be a little bit tougher to trade. I think that's more of something that the Knicks would look to package together if they were to go after a player like a Kyle Kuzma or a John Collins, somebody that demands a high salary. I think that you would have to move a salary like Fournier off the books, but you would most likely have to attach some more assets as well.
So, Brett, I'm curious because, as a fan base, we're constantly always talking about the pieces we want, right? But you get to see it from the outside looking in. So how about the rest of the league? When they look at the Knicks, are there players on our team right now that they're like, man, we need to go grab Randall, or man, we need to go get IQ? What are the rumblings around the NBA when it comes to the actual Knicks players that we have?
Yeah, so last offseason, it seemed like everything was on the table, especially when they were in trade talks for Donovan Mitchell. It seemed like that if Randall was going to be a player that they were going to move, I think that they were open to the idea of it, but it just kind of depended on what the trade package looked like. They really wanted to get Donovan Mitchell, but then they extended RJ Barrett, and trade talks just kind of fell through there. So it does seem like that they're moving forward with that core three that they've built of RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson, and Julius Randle. So it doesn't seem like any of those three are available. In terms of guys that other teams around the league are interested in talking about, you look at Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly. I think that those are the two that really gain the most interest, and I'd put Cam Reddish right behind them. I don't think that he's necessarily gaining as much attention as Quickly would in trade talks, but Reddish, again, like I mentioned, a young player, is proven to be a solid three-point shooter from college and in the NBA level, and he can score off the dribble, which is something that you're looking for in a wing nowadays, and being that kind of 3-and-D player, he does need to improve on the defensive end of the floor, but the potential's there. He's a lengthy wing, and in the right system, he can be a good player. So I think that those three guys on the rookie contracts for the Knicks, that's really where you're going to find the most value around the league right now.
Nice. So here's what I want to do, Eddie. I want to go with you first. Your perfect situation right now for our Knicks. That one player that you're going to get, and obviously, you know, what do we have to give up? We don't have to worry about all that right now, okay? But for you, Eddie, what's that one player right now that we should totally go and get in a perfect Eddie world?
Do you want the fantasy player, or do you want?
I want the fantasy answer, and then we'll get back into reality afterwards. But I'm just curious.
The fantasy player is Devin Booker. If things keep going wrong with the Suns, and it's the way it's headed, it's looking like it's like the Titanic out there in Phoenix.
Yeah,
that's kind of the fantasy. But you know, somehow, you know, that team goes to hell, and we're just able to go out and land Booker. That would be my dream, dream guy if I could get right now.
All right. Part 2 of this is Brett. How delirious is Devin Booker on the Knicks?
That's not something that's going to be happening anytime soon.
I'm right there with you, Eddie. That would be great, man. I would love that.
He'll work in 2K trades, and you'll be able to put together an NBA 2K trade for that. But I mean, the Phoenix Suns, that is Devin Booker's team, and with the new owner coming in, they're going to be keeping that core together. The real question is what's going to happen with DeAndre Ayton, because he's been somebody that's been brought up in trade rumors and teams have shown interest in the past, and he even signed an offer sheet with another team. And it seemed like that in this past offseason, he signed that offer sheet with the Indiana Pacers before the Suns matched it, and he stayed in Phoenix. But it doesn't seem like that Ayton and the Suns are on the same page right now from a front office perspective, from a coaching perspective, and from a team perspective. It just seems like that there's disconnect there. So I would think that he would be a player within the next year or two that could potentially be on the move. Obviously, you're going to have Jay Crowder moving at the trade deadline, and we'll see what happens. We'll see who they add and where they finish this year, because with the new owner coming in, it does seem like that the Suns are going to be open to moving guys around and kind of opening up their championship window a little more than it is right now.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead, Phil.
My question for you, Brett, is for a while there was a lot of talks of, the Bulls could look to move Caruso. And that had our interest because he could be off the bench as offense and defense, could be clutch. You don't have to give up the farm for him, but you still, get something great in the player that he is. But I recently saw an article that now says that Chicago insiders have released that Caruso may be the only untouchable player on the roster come trade deadline, that they are open to possibly moving anybody else but Caruso because he is a two-way player. So my first question is, rumors, does that seem like actually true that Caruso would be an untouchable now? And then second, could we as Knicks fans, if those other players are available, explore something like a Nikola Vucevic, who, now that we need a center, he is the kind of center that Isaiah Hartenstein was pitched to us as, someone who's not going to be the most dominant defender, but can defend decently, but can stretch the floor and make buckets from inside and outside. So those are my two questions.
Yeah, so I'll say this just to start off. When you hear these rumors from insiders around the league, from guys with credibility, there's always a little bit of truth to some rumor. Obviously, everything is not 100% true. There's always some stuff that's up for discussion, and you'll have the he says, she says kind of scenarios there. but there's always some little bit of truth to everything you hear that comes out around this league from every journalist. And with that being said, the Chicago Bulls are a team that a lot of other organizations around this league have been watching closely. And I actually had a report on them back in December of they were keeping all their options open. Their front office was actively talking with themselves and figuring out, okay, what's our future looking like? Where are we right now? Where can we be by this season's end? Because entering the season, they truly felt like that they had a chance to be one of these top contending teams in the East with their core of Nikola Vucevic, Zach LaVine, and DeMar DeRozan. And then you had those side pieces, like you mentioned, with Alex Caruso. You have Patrick Williams, you have Kobe White. So their roster is not bad whatsoever. I don't think that their record is reflective of the type of team that they are. And I think during the second half of the season, they're going to be a team that rises up a little bit, makes a playoff push, and potentially gets in either via the play-in tournament or via the 5 or 6 seed in the East. I do think that that's a possibility, because you look at where they were last year, they struggled against good teams in the league and they beat up on the bottom tier teams. This year, it's kind of the opposite. They've struggled a little bit against the teams that have been near the bottom, and they've played well against the teams that are near the top of the standings in both the East and the Western Conference. So I think that's definitely a positive for them. And that's a reason why their front office has not shown a willingness to really blow things up yet. I think that it's a much more possibility that they move guys like Kobe White, maybe even Javonte Green or Derek Jones Jr. They'll move some of these bench guys that they have to try to upgrade this roster instead of selling at the trade deadline. So I don't think that DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and Nikola Vucevic, I don't think that all three of them are going to be on the move. I don't think that they're going to look to trade any one of those three right now. I think that they're fully committed to the core that they've built. They want to see them play with Lonzo Ball whenever that may be, if he returns this season or if it's next season after he gets healthy. And like you mentioned, Alex Caruso, I do believe that that's a player that they could look to trade, obviously because of his contract and the type of players that they could bring back for him. I don't think, though, that they will look to trade Alex Caruso. I think that they want to keep him, especially given that Lonzo Ball is not healthy yet.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so guys, I want to be respectful of Brett's time. Brett, I know we had a hard stop, so I'm gonna end it on this one. Brett, first, thank you again for making time to come hang out with us here on the Knicks Morning Brew. If you were to drop us a spoiler in Brett's world, what is one thing that we don't expect to see happen at the trade deadline that you're thinking might actually happen?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because it kind of depends on the first two trades that we're going to see. And I think that one of them involves Jay Crowder with the Phoenix Suns. I think that that's most likely going to be a 3-team deal just because of salaries coming in and going out. I think that he's ultimately going to end up on the Milwaukee Bucks based on everything that I've heard. It just depends on who's going to be that third team. Is it going to be the Houston Rockets? Will a team like the New York Knicks potentially slip in with Cam Reddish? Could he be a player that goes back to Phoenix and maybe nets the Knicks a player like Grayson Allen? Who knows? But I think that Jay Crowder going to the Milwaukee Bucks is definitely a possibility and something that is very, very likely at this time. So that's one of them. I think the second thing is John Collins with the Atlanta Hawks. I think that the chances of him being traded have gone from 50-50 at the beginning of the year to now kind of 65-35, where John Collins being traded is a very real possibility at this point. Could happen at any point over the next 3 weeks. And the two teams that I've kind of seen the most are the Indiana Pacers and the Utah Jazz. I think that those are two teams that have shown the most interest in John Collins at this time. Again, will it be a 2-team trade, or will that be a third team getting involved? Kind of like we saw with and it's not as big of a trade as the James Harden one when he went to the Brooklyn Nets from the Houston Rockets, but you had that third team in there where Karis LeVert got traded. And that could be kind of a precursor to this John Collins trade, where you have John Collins as the centerpiece, and then maybe another player that's similar skill set, similar value that LeVert was, maybe a player like that goes on the move to a third team, and it kind of makes you shrug your shoulders a little bit and wonder, that was a good move by that third team that got involved. Yeah. So those are really the two big pieces. And then obviously you have the Toronto Raptors of what are they going to do with Gary Trent, OG Anunoby, because right now it seems like Gary Trent is the player that's most likely to be moved. He's been linked to the Knicks and the Phoenix Suns from my understanding, and there's some other teams as well that could look to trade for him, like the Los Angeles Lakers have been linked to him. And then you have the Washington Wizards as well. That could be a really interesting piece right there, because they have Will Barton, who they could send out an outgoing salary. They attach Rui Hachimura, maybe a draft pick, and maybe they can get a player like Gary Trent Jr. right there. So that's really the three main things. I wouldn't say that they're spoilers necessarily, because this trade deadline, it's up in the air. We just really don't know what's going to happen until we see that first trade fall. And then obviously until we see what's going to happen with teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Toronto Raptors, two teams that a lot of teams around this league are watching closely in the Eastern Conference.
Well, I'm glad I asked the question because the last time you answered a question, Phil looked really upset with the KP answer, but it looks like he started smiling again after
He happy
that
now.
answer.
Feel happy now. He'll feel happy.
Brett, thank you so much, man.
Seriously.
Yeah,
brother,
no problem. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yes, you have a great rest of the season, Brett. Have a good one.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah. That was that guy, Brett Siegel, friend of the show, friend of ours. But Eddie, my man, nice to have you on the panel, bro. I love what you do when it comes to the Twitter Spaces. You are a legend out there in the Twitter Spaces with your takes. But we understand the last game we lost against the Raptors, and we was waiting, for our guy before he dipped out. Before we waited to have this conversation. So Eddie, lead the way, lead the parade, if they say, be the major deacon, and let's talk about this last game against the Raptors, bro.
I mean, look, I'm worried about, it was a tough loss, but I'm worried about moving forward, from going on from here out. I mean, Mitch went down and, we have no bench as it is. And we have a thin bench at best. I mean, we have one guy coming off this bench right now, and that's IQ. That's one guy we could.
That's it.
That's the only guy we can count on. Everybody else is basically inconsistent. They're consistently inconsistent,
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at the schedule. You guys could look at it too. The next 20 games are going to be tough, man. And in order for us to stay 500, we got to go 8-12, and that's tough in the schedule, man. It's tough. So I'm worried about moving forward. I mean, the last game against the Wizards, it was a wire-to-wire victory for the Wizards. The Knicks really, they cut the lead to 7, but it was never anything close. The game before that against Toronto, they should have took that game. But, it is what it is. 2 tough losses in a row. But these next, 20 games, man, it's going to define the season. And a lot of people are going to be happy on Knicks Twitter, man. The tank commanders and stuff, depending on how this goes.
They're coming back.
It's going to come back because it's going to get ugly. And unless the Knicks go out and make a move, man, they're in trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the tank commanders. It sounds like a game of Game of Thrones. The winter's coming. Winter's coming. So you can hear them getting ready to rev up their tanks when it comes to this team. But go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, no. So 2 things on that. I gotta give credit where it's due. Like sometimes I don't agree with everybody's takes on Twitters. But I'm not the kind of guy that I'm gonna fight back and forth. Like I'm 38 years old. I got things I got to handle. Like real life. But we are at that point. I remember early in the season. Like shout out to Jay from Florida. He did say, come this time, we need to actually get ready for a gauntlet of a schedule. And how we handle the previous games, which he was talking about these last few, will kind of give us a hint on if we are going to sail well or if we should be scared. And these last ones, especially with now Mitch out, does show some worry for me because of 2 things. First, in that first unit, I don't know what's going on, but I don't think that 3 ISO ball players for 4 quarters of basketball is going to get us the result that we want. And second, there's no fresh second unit. That was kind of our highlight in the beginning. When the ISO players were going on, we at least had some ball movement and some traction with the second unit early in the season. That was kind of hopeful to switch away from that ISO mentality. But even now, you see IQ doesn't look as much up to see who's cutting and stuff like that. And I think some of that ISO ball mentality kind of went there too. So my question for you, Eddie, is do you think we can get past this ISO ball first unit? Some people think it's all-star desiring, from Randall and Brunson. That's making them stat pad a little bit to try and get into that all-star game. And then second, do you think that there is a way that IQ can be as effective point-wise as facilitator-wise to bring something out of our second unit if we don't make any trades right now?
I mean, look, as far as the first unit goes, there's a lot of chat, and you watch these games, right? You got RJ. It's the mid 3, right? You got RJ, you got Brunson and you got Randall. This is what it is. It's the mid three.
The middies.
It is. Brunson's the best of them. Brunson could get through the lane. He's always consistent. Brunson. He's the best player on the team, in my opinion. But then you have Randall and you have Barrett. And with these guys, game to game, you really don't know what you're going to get out of these guys. Randall was good. I can't kill him. He's been great this season for the most part. But these last couple of games, he's looked off. And you look when RJ was out, Randall looked a lot better. He looked a lot better. So I don't know what to make of this team, man. I think there is a lot of smoke to when people say these three guys might not be able to play together. I really think there's something to that. The three lefties, they're three ISO guys. Even though Brunson, I know his assist numbers aren't great, but he does facilitate the offense. The Knicks just can't hit an open shot. That's the bottom line. There's no shooters on this team. And the one guy that can shoot is on the bench making fucking $18 million. So
there's the first F-bomb from Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie's with me. No, Eddie,
40 minutes into the show. 40 minutes into the show, my man Eddie.
Look. Eddie, I'm gonna tell him. Yeah, Eddie, I'm gonna tell him about our conversation. Yo, literally, Eddie and I were talking last night, and Eddie's like, yo, I'll do my best. I was like, you too? Me too, bro. I lead the team in the swear jar money. So thank you for a new person.
No, I was waiting. I was like, how long is it going to be? I was like, now Brett is going. All right, it's 10. How long is it going to be? Then bam, and he just drops the F-bomb. My man.
I have to be professional in front of the reporters, but with the fans, it's okay.
After that, we're good, all right?
Yeah, go off, Eddie. Go off, Eddie.
Once Brett's gone,
Go off. But if I can, real quick, before we continue, let me just shout out the chat real quick because the chat is lively right now. JJ is in the chat, my man. JJ, what it do? 19 con man in the building. He said, hold on, because I got it right here. He said, sounds like Bill Burr is on the panel. First of all, Bill Burr is one of my favorite comedians. And Eddie's right there almost with him. But also, Pudge Nice is in the building. My man, Pudgy Nice, what is good? Nathan Ramachandra from the NNR Hour. My man, Halal from Backstage Baseball. He said, I don't know anything about ball. I'm just here to say hi. Halal, we appreciate you. Salute to you, young man. Chris Joseph as well. Sir Chin is in the chat. He said, can't believe what I'm hearing. The fans blaming this shit on JB. Look, another swear from me. We are literally playing the same offense we did last year with D Rose and Burks. It's Tibbs telling them to ISO. We need a new coach. You can't argue against that. But go ahead, fellas.
Yeah, I mean, so first, Eddie, I will talk about the fact that, I jump in on the Let's Talk Twitter Spaces after the games, the post game, man. I love that you've joined the team and the energy you bring to that, man. And but I also love the fact that you have no problem just calling people out. When it's a dumb take, you have no problem just being like, yo, that's not gonna fly. I kind of want to shift the conversation here, guys, because the Mitch situation, we already know we're about to go down a road of stress with our schedule. All right. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe the reports and everything I look at, we've got the second toughest schedule in the league over the next 20 games. Right. So it's not like we're just making this up. It's legit. Our schedule is scary. The Mitch situation causes us now to be in a situation where we have to watch the circus that is iHeart. Okay. But what have I said all season, guys? We have literally been forced to see the things that we've seen. Everybody wants to be like, oh, he switched to an 8-man, 9-man rotation. No, he was forced to that, right? We've been forced to see players play. We've been forced to see our young guys. Are we now in this? We are forced to where we're going to finally see the Randall and Obi combo that I've been asking for. And Eddie, I won't speak for you. I know your sides on the Obi stuff, so I want to talk about that with you as well. But this is that time, right? I mean, we're going to see those minutes go to Obi, or are we just going to see way more go to iHeart and Sims?
Listen, I hope Obi gets the minutes. I mean, I'm not a big fan of his game personally. I don't think I'm not as high on him as a lot of other people on Knicks Twitter. I think he's limited, but let's see what he can do. The opportunity's here. And when you get opportunities, you got to make the best out of them. So if we're going to run Obi at the 4 and Randall at the 5, now's the time. Now it's Obi's time to shine. I mean, It's either that or we're going to flip him into something, better. I hope personally, but let's see what they could do. I mean, the numbers state when Obi and Randall are on the court, their numbers were pretty good over the last couple of years. But, we'll see what happens. We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like we're finally going to be able to put another question to rest, right? We're being forced to, hey, if we actually now are going to see Obi minutes, now we can have that conversation where people that are high on him or not, I really feel we're going to have some answers over these next couple of games, right?
Yeah.
But my fear is Tibbs goes and puts more minutes on iHeart. Yeah, we get more Sims time, and we still get screwed on the Obi minutes. I just have a feeling we see some of that with him, man.
Yeah, and when you look at our schedule coming up, right? We have the Hawks, which is tonight. We have against Atlanta. Then we got the Raptors, we got Cleveland, the Boston Celtics, the Brooklyn Nets, the LA Lakers. February, we're only playing 11 games, which is the least games that we're playing in a month in the season. Right. But we play the Heat, the Clippers, the 76ers, the Magic, the 76ers, the Jazz, the Nets again, the Hawks, the Wizards, the Pelicans, and the Celtics. So with all those teams that I just named, there's probably 3 to 5 teams that we could sit here right now with Mitch being out, knowing that Mitch is going to be out, that we could say we're comfortable going against, right? Like Eddie said, our next 20 games, it's going to be tough, and it's really going to be a gauntlet, and it's going to see if it makes or break our team, right? You could, if you remember a couple of seasons ago when we were actually the 4th seed, this is the time, and this is when the schedule favored us. This is when we went on that 10-game winning streak. This is when our schedule became the easiest in the NBA. 2 years later, it's reversed. Now we may have arguably the worst 20-game stretch in the NBA, and hopefully they can go out there, make a trade, a Zach Collins that I wouldn't hate against Zach Collins, but something to hold us down until Mitch comes around. And it's just 3 weeks until Mitch is reevaluated, and we don't even know what's going to happen after he's reevaluated. So he's going to be out longer than 3 weeks. 3 weeks is just the bare minimum.
Yeah, and I'm scared, to be honest, because it's not that we don't have the possibility to rework the roster that we have, even if we don't pick somebody, to try to find something that works. We just know that it takes such a long time for Tibbs to be willing to rework what he's already felt that was working to actually want to make changes. So I'm worried about how long it's going to take for him to actually swallow pride, make changes that need to happen. And are we going to see a situation where now these players that aren't getting minutes, like Obi and Sims, play well? Are we going to see a similar situation to what happened with Cam, that now they come in and they start doing great, and after, when Mitch comes back, do they go back to the bench and lose their value again, whether it's value for us or value for trade? Like we heard Brett say, the whole reason we can no longer get a first round with Cam Reddish is because Tibbs stopped playing with him, stopped playing him. Are we going to do that same thing when it comes to Obi Toppin and Sims? Are they going to now take us somewhere that we need to go, and then all of a sudden, when Mitch is back, they're no longer important and lose value again, So that's the big thing. I think we definitely do need to figure something out, because more iHeart minutes to me means easier losses, on our end, easier wins for other teams. So I don't know, man. It's a little scary moving forward, and I hope that something happens sooner rather than later. If we're gonna trade Cam, now's the perfect time to trade Cam. If we're gonna trade Hartenstein, now's the perfect time.
I want you to rewatch this entire episode, well, specifically the part where where Brett was talking about Cam Reddish, because the way that your eyes rolled to the back of your head, Phil, you were doing you was looking like the Undertaker. I'm not gonna lie, you was looking like the Undertaker, Attitude Era Undertaker, him going like this. The way that you were so visibly upset, and hearing it is upsetting. Hearing the fact that when it comes to our team, knowing that we are looking for a guy that's 6'9", can score offensively, who's gifted offensively, who has the tools to defend if he becomes a willing defender. That's the type of player we are looking for, and we have him on our team. Now, I'm not sure if it's just the effort that Cam Reddish shows in practice, or I'm not sure it's Cam Reddish just hasn't brought into Tom Thibodeau's style of play or into his system. Whatever it is, it's just a recipe for disaster, and it's not working. And the front office, They're friends with Tibbs. Tibbs is here for a longer period of time when it comes to his contract. And it sucks to say, and it sucks to see that Cam Reddish is going to be the victim of Tom Thibodeau being Tom Thibodeau. And hopefully he goes to a team, Eddie, where he's able to thrive in a system that could bring out the best of him. Because at the end of the day, we just want to see everyone able to succeed. Point blank, period. I think that's what we all want as NBA fans, and that's what we all want as Knicks fans.
Yeah, listen, the whole Cam Reddish thing, I just would love to know what the fuck happened, right?
Exactly.
What the fuck happened with this guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, enough is enough. And you hear all this bullshit. You got us, all the fans are talking about him. I mean, either fucking deal him or tell us what the hell's going on, man. Enough, It's annoying, but, listen, it's at the point of no return now, right? It's been X amount of games, and we don't, there's nothing to do. We'll get our 2 second-round picks or whatever garbage we're going to get back for him. And, you move on. He's probably going to do great wherever he goes next. Yeah. And he's just to stick it to us, too. It'll be even more annoying. But, listen, the Cam thing, it's what's done is done. The Tibbs thing is so crazy because, we all know Tibbs sucks, man. His offense is outdated. It's so played out. He's 65 years old. Enough is enough, but – Dolan keeps these fucking guys around. That's the problem. So, I wish we could get a young new guy in here, whoever it is.
Yeah, but you know what, Eddie? I even said the other day on the episode, even if we go and get a piece that we want, right, or that the fan base wants, the front office, there's no guarantee that Tibbs is even going to play the guy if it's not somebody that he likes for his system.
Yeah,
right? That's the disconnect. But that's the disconnect. Leon Rose and Thibodeau, they got to be on the same page, man. I mean, that's how these teams that are good. That's how they work. The Golden State Warriors. You think Bob Myers and Steve Kerr aren't on the same page? Of course they are. All these teams. Sam Presti. You don't think he's on the same page with his head coach? Of course he is. It's a timeline, and it sucks, man. Because Tibbs, what the hell is he doing on offense? Make some guys better. He's. I get it. I guess you could say he made RJ better. I guess you could say he made Mitch better, IQ. But other than that, man, look at Obi, bro. He regressed, if anything. So it's a maddening conversation with the Knicks, but, it is what it is.
Obi hasn't scored, if I'm not mistaken, since he's come back from his injury. Obi hasn't scored more than 6 or 8 points in a game since he's come back from his injury.
He was horrible before the injury, too, if you guys remember.
No. Yeah. No, I 100% don't disagree with that. But what's more upsetting, Eddie, when you talk about Tom Thibodeau, what becomes more upsetting, like you said, there's a disconnect between the front office and the coaching when it comes to the roster construction that we have. If you aren't going to play Cam Reddish, like you said, why even trade for him? Right, that draft pick that we sent away to get Cam Reddish, that could have been the draft pick we used to get rid of Kemba Walker, and maybe we would have had Jalen Duran on this team. You never know, so you always got to look at things. If you're not going to play Cam Reddish, why even waste a draft pick that you could potentially flip at the draft for another asset or removing a player off of your team?
Remember with that draft pick for Duran, I know everybody's high on him, but if we didn't move that draft pick, we would have never got Brunson. Because that was a salary cap space. So
no, that's what I'm saying. No, the pick that we gave up for Cam Reddish, we could have used that to get rid of Kemba Walker and kept the pick for Durant, is what I was saying.
Well, that pick ultimately ended up going to San Antonio in the DeJounte Murray trade. But I get what you're saying. We could use all picks are always good, man, because come this summer, let's say Kuzma's out there. I mean, Brett, it sounds like to me he wants to test free agency. He's a big fashion guy. I mean, listen, you start dangling these picks around the teams with salary cap space, we could free up a boatload of money. Phil, we could free up money to get KP. We have if we move Mitch, Fournier, it's about $42 million right there. I mean, I'm a little against giving KP that much. I'm more comfortable with giving Kuzma, 28 on a descending contract. But, picks are the currency, like I always say, man. Picks are the currency in today's NBA. Picks, young NBA talent and, cap filler. That's what gets you the superstar. 3 unprotected first-round picks and 2 swaps. That gets you Donovan Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? That's what does it. So if you have protected picks, things that could get you a Kuzma. That could get you a Gary Trent Jr. So It's always better to have your picks and other people's picks. Always.
What do you think is going? Go ahead, Phil. My fault.
Let me ask you, Eddie. I know my answer for sure, but I know the Knicks fans will be divided on this. If the only way we could get Kuzma is, let's say he doesn't want to come off the bench, he wants to be our starting power forward, would you trade Randall?
Of course, in a second.
Okay, cool.
In a second. For Kuzma, I'd trade him in a second.
I think
in a second.
RJ Brunson and Kuzma would be a better fit than Randall and Brunson.
Without a doubt, that's a better fit. And listen, I killed Julius Randle. Last year, I fucking destroyed this guy. But I got to give him credit for this year. He's played better. He's been much better. But we all see that there's something, like it's like a puzzle, right? There's pieces that just don't fit. And if Washington was willing to take Randall from us and we get back Kuzma, sign me the fuck up. I will do that deal overnight. I'll do it in a second, man. I would do it.
I wanted to ask you, Eddie, because we brought up KP, and I asked Jig and Phil this when we was doing the watch along of the game. But when it comes to Kristaps Porzingis, what do you think his value is when it comes to the salary cap, when it comes to his yearly salary? He's going to be a free agent after this season, right? What do you think he's going to demand, or what front office is going to give him? Because I think right now we could all agree the days of KP being a franchise player is behind us. I don't think the days of KP being a franchise player or him demanding a max contract is there anymore. He makes 33 to 34 million this season. What do you think he's going to get in the free agent market? What would you be comfortable with giving him?
Well, he's got a player option for next season. Same thing, 33 million. He's going to turn that down. We all know that.
Yeah.
What I think, I would think I don't think he's a max player. He's certainly not a super max player. I think he's in the – just because all these guys get paid, I think he's going to get about $42 million a year. I do. I think that's what he's going to get set up for 4 years, 160, something like that, because at the end of the day, he's a guy that averages over 20. He's going to get you his 8, 9, 10 rebounds, and he's going to block some shots in. This year, he stayed healthy, and he's on that contract year, so I think he's going to get paid. And, you look at guys like Zach LaVine, look at that contract. That fucking contract's insane. So, and he's another guy that can't stay healthy coming off, knee surgery. So I think KP is going to get paid. I see him at, 40 to 42 million a year. I think he's, because if you're going to opt out at 33, you're going to want to get paid more. And the Supermax is going up. It's going up year by year. So he's going to be under that 60 million, 55 million. So I see him getting about 4 years, 160, 165, something like that. That's where I see him.
And just to correct, just to be corrected, when it comes to Kuzma and Randall, right? I'm not sure if you're saying that Kuzma is better than Randall, but I think you're saying that Kuzma would fit with Jalen Brunson better than Randall does.
I think Kuzma is a better fit with Brunson and Barrett than Randall. Yeah. I do, because
you would say that Randall is the better player. Would you say?
I think right now this season, probably I'd have to say Randall's better.
Okay. I just want to clarify because we got SK in the chat, so I just want to make sure SK knows that we're not saying that Kuzma's better than Randall, but the fit on the team, Kuzma will be a better fit on the team.
So if I was to give a grade for Randall for this season, I'd give him an A-, and I'd give Kuzma about a B+. That's about how I'd rate them. Giving them grades.
So can we all agree that we're past the whole Zach LaVine conversation?
Oh, easy.
Or are we still? I was shocked to see it come back up again, but I'm not on that train, but it's still out there. Do you guys think that's still something that this front office is debating?
Who knows? I think the main thing with Zach LaVine is the price. You never know what the price is. If he's going to cost. If LaVine is going to cost in like less than 3 unprotected firsts and some fillers here and there, I think you never know with that. I think that contract is crazy. I would never give him that money. I think it's insane, especially if you're giving up unprotected and your whole future for Zach LaVine. I would never mortgage the future for a guy like Zach LaVine. I would never do it.
My whole thing is if Zach LaVine didn't work along other all-stars like DeMar DeRozan, And a team of DeMar, Zach, and Nikola Vucevic didn't work with Alex Caruso off the bench. What makes us want to bankrupt something that could be good for us if we find one or two other pieces to have Zach LaVine? Like, he hasn't been the thing to set other teams above and beyond. Like, we are above the Chicago Bulls right now. And the only player that's ever been an all-star on our roster is Julius Randle. And he didn't even get a touch, in that game. Like, he didn't even touch the ball. They have bona fide all-stars and have not been able to do what we have done this season. Why would we want to bankrupt our agency for Zach LaVine, who's in the second half of his career? He's not in his prime anymore. Like, he was and still is a great player, but not a player that you build a franchise around anymore. Right. Like, he is not that guy.
He's a good player, not a superstar. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Eddie, bro, we're going to keep rocking out. We just want to check in with you. You still got time to rock out with us?
I'm good. Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure. Didn't want you to feel
no, I'm all good.
Okay. Copy. And please, guys, Eddie, come back as often as you can, bro. I really enjoy this, bro. Trust me. You are a national treasure.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Hector. I appreciate it. But just to get on the whole Kuzma thing, I know a lot of people want to trade Randall. If it was up to me, I would build the mid-4. That's what I would do. I'd build around these four dudes and keep Eddie, because LaVine is not going to cost you. Kuzma's not going to cost you 3 unprotected first-round picks. If you could bring Kuzma in to that mid-4 and then add a superstar after Kuzma and build a star and then a mid-4, I think that's the fucking best plan, man. I really do. And then in the summertime, you go out and you get bench pieces, right? You got the mid-level exception. You got, you got the mid-level exception. Those are 2 spots to get guys who could score, guys that could stretch the floor, shoot, knock down threes, defend a little bit. If the Knicks go that route, man, I really think they could be a contender. But they're 2 moves away. That's the bottom line. They're a small move like a Kuzma or a Gary Trent Jr., and then they're a big move like a superstar, whether that's Devin Booker, Anthony Edwards. Who knows? We don't know who's going to be out there this summer. Just anybody, Siegel, I think it was Scotto, was telling me that, LaMelo Ball might be available this summer. That, Trae Young, we don't know. Guys become available every summer, and when they do, we got to strike on it. We got to pounce on them. As long as we got our picks, we can do it.
Yeah. Just a shout out, Wonderment55 in the chat. First time seeing you in the chat. Salute. I guess he's asking about other Nick Twitter guys. Listen, we have an episode with Julito. We have 2 episodes with Lito on the channel that you could go and check out. One episode was when he first came up. We was breaking down the season. And the second episode was when he had his album release. He did it here for us, gave us a sneak preview of his album. And it was an awesome episode, Wonderment. If you want, you could go back into the channel and you can find those videos as well. We also had an interview that we did with Ja Rule. We had an interview we did with Jerry Ferrara. So, yeah, you come to the right channel.
Yeah. And you seem to be talking Twitter people. We had Cash and Smooth last week, so we definitely want to use our platform to continue to highlight people that are doing things that maybe they don't get the camera, recognition that they deserve because they're playing more, background. But we want those people here, because they're putting in just as much work, which is why we got Eddie here this morning, because he grinds, he puts in work. He's got great takes. So yeah, we're always down for suggestions, but like Hector said, definitely got Julito twice. That guy's family for us. So
yeah, and I'll just point out, because I want people to understand with our show, guys, it's not we just need to get all these big names, and that's not what we're here to do. We want to talk about Knicks. We want to talk about the topics. We also want to talk to the fans that love going up on Twitter Spaces and being the ones that just come up and talk all the time. Like, those are takes we want to talk about. It's all about the fan base. I mean, what Eddie does with Let's Talk Knicks, and we've had Charlotte on here. We had Cash and Smooth. We had Big Mo. We want to focus on the fan base as much as we want to focus on reporters and everything that comes on, because guys, the good thing about our Knicks is we always got enough shit to talk about, because that's who we are, man.
24/7, 365. It's fucking crazy.
100%.
It's insane.
But we got SK backstage. I'm about to bring SK up. I want to shout out my
Randall
man Carlos.
Time.
Carlos with the K is in the chat. Carlos, my man. Carlos was on the open panel yesterday with the Yankees Morning Brew. It was a phenomenal panel. We had about like 9 people on the panel. Carlos came in first time on the panel. He had a great job, great take as well. So Carlos, you too, my guy.
Yeah, but Carlos isn't happy with the Knicks though. He lost money on that.
Yeah,
I
know. Sorry about that, Carlos. Sorry about the money that you had lost. But I'm putting the link back in the chat. If anybody want to jump up for the open panel, I see we got G Money in the chat. My man Bones is in the chat as well. If you guys are free, you're more than welcome to come up. I'm gonna bring SK up to the chat. To the panel right now. SK has his camera off, so you will hear his voice just like Jesus in the air. Just saying that right now. So SK, what it do, bro? We can hear you right now, baby. SK, you there? Oh,
can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Right.
Yes, sir.
There he is. What up, SK?
What's up, bro?
Oh, SK, I don't know. There may be an issue. I'm going to just, SK, let me know when you're back ready. Show your camera, and I'll bring you back up. Sorry about that. Apologies.
A little bit of lag there.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jiggaman.
Chris Joseph said, SK definitely coming in hot after the Randall miscommunication. Oh,
I don't think he heard anything about us saying, like, it's not in lieu of Randall. Like, we don't like Randall. He just heard Randall not on the Knicks. He came guns blazing. He's ready to fight. SK, we love you, bro.
EY just jumped in. I don't know where EY went, but Eric Wallace in the building. What it do? 19 comments said SK was in the middle of a huge puff situation when he jumped. Yeah, that's probably what it was. But now, go ahead, Jigga.
I want to get back to a little bit of iHeart talk. And I know none of us really like talking about iHeart, but it's got to be addressed. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let's just go back to the last game. Okay. Why can't, again, this is not, let's just look at the last 2. Why can't this man stay up on his feet? Why can't he walk or run without falling over and looking like a fool? Like, I'm sorry, whether we want to, we can have all the takes we want on Tibbs, right? Whether it's we super hate him, we hate him, or we really, really, really hate him. Like, those are usually the categories. But how can you justify putting that man out there when you see every time he's out there, we lose whatever lead we have? He's not spacing the floor like he's supposed to. Supposedly that's what you told us he was going to do. Like, at this point, as a coach, how can you justify having that man out there? Because it's brutal.
First of all, he does space the floor. The way he falls on the floor, he spaces everything out for people. All right, all right.
I don't get it.
I can't stand him. He bro, like I like to say, he fucking sucks, man. That's the bottom. I fucking hate this guy. It was such a horrible signing, man. It really was. It was terrible. Andre Drummond got like $3 million a year. I would have much rather given it to him than fucking iHeart. Mm-hmm. Even Taj Gibson, I would take over this fucking guy. He's terrible.
That's exactly what I said the other day. When Taj came in his pink uniform, I said, I would rather Taj come back than us have Hartenstein.
At $1.9 million a year, who would you rather have, Taj or this guy? He's fucking terrible, man. He's awful. Yeah. Can't rebound. He's goofy as shit, man. It's crazy.
Eddie, we literally pull this up on our watch-alongs every time our heart comes on the floor.
Oh,
okay?
That's a fact.
Because it changes the entire game.
And one the men 55 said Randall was the best player we have. Numbers don't lie. Listen, we don't agree. Don't disagree with that. You know, the way that Randall's been playing, I said it a couple of episodes ago. Eddie, maybe you agree with me or not. The way that Randall was playing this season, he's playing a lot better than he was playing when he was actually an all-star.
He's better than COVID Randall. He's better than COVID Randall.
So turnovers are down. The field goal percentage is better. His shot selection is a hell of a lot better. The three-point, it may not be percentage-wise, but when it comes to shooting the three-point in the first quarter and setting the tone early, Julius Randle, he's doing that better than anyone else in the league.
I think he's the second best player we have. He's the second best player we have. I think Jalen Brunson is still a better player because Jalen Brunson, you know, in hard times can create. Randall, when the pressure cooker's on, he tends to break down a little bit. You know, he can't handle the pressure as well as Jalen Brunson. But I do think that Randall is leaps and bounds a better player this year than he's been for his whole career. You know, just because he's a great player, though, does not mean that he fits the trajectory, you know, like of where we're going and what I want to see our Knicks doing. You know, like it's not that he's the issue. The issue to me is three players with the very same skill set. the very same mentality. It does not open up possibilities for our offense. It cripples us. ISO ball is a very real thing, but most teams have 1 to 2 players on their starting lineup that do ISO ball. 3 is just way too many. So for me personally, if I have to choose from the 3, that's why I would trade Randall. Not because Randall's a bad player, but because trajectory-wise, I would rather see Brunson and RJ in our future if I have to choose 2 out of the 3 ISO ball players.
Yeah, and look, and I'll say it, and Eddie, I've said this before on the show, and I'd love to get your take on it, but I go back to the fact of how it is as a Yankees fan, right? The name on the back of the jersey doesn't matter, right? And I feel like people need to do that when it comes to the Knicks, right? Let's be real. How many? I guarantee you, Wondermint has probably gone into other shows, dropped that comment in there, and probably got murdered in the chat, right? Because you know how the fan base can be.
Right.
You're not gonna get that here. Randall, look at the player for what he is, and he is playing lights out. Do we still get a little sometimes the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation? Yeah, but you know what? The other day, I don't think that was the case. I think that's I'm exhausted. I'm just like, you know what I mean? Nothing's falling. The whole team looked like a mess. Any athlete got in their head in that game. Everybody on the court didn't give a crap the other night, right? So here, yes, Randall is playing lights out, okay? But I want to address with Wondermint is, can we talk about taking the L for Obi already? Here's the thing, Wondermint. We could easily say yes, but at the same time, what I'm going to say is trade where? Because if we look at what we've dealt with over just recently with the season, his injury, his play time, who's begging us to take Obi at something that's going to benefit us? So what we all should be looking at right now, Wondermint, is, hey, Mitch got injured. We're actually going to see some Obi time. So if those of you that want Obi gone so bad, you should be hoping that Obi comes out and freaking kills it over the next couple of games. Build that value up, right?
I hope all these guys do well, because at the end of the day, I root for the Knicks. I don't have any favorite player. I don't care about any of these guys. If I had to pick the best one, it's Brunson. But if it's up to me, I want them all to play well. And if you have a chance to trade any of these guys and move up and get a player that's better with higher potential, I am making that deal every single day of the week, every single day. I do not care. If you could go out and get an Anthony Edwards for RJ Barrett, I'm doing it. I'm making the deal because it's a better player. And that's it.
100%.
I know some people love RJ Barrett. They love him. I don't give a shit. I just want to see the Knicks be great. I want to see them win a championship. That's the ultimate goal, man. That's it.
Yeah.
100%. No one's going to argue against that point. Go ahead, Phil.
No. To your point, like, I am a huge RJ fan. But if there's something on the table that's going to push the needle to get us to an actual contending team, then I want that. So SK, I know that hits you hard when I talk about Randall, but I'm only talking about Randall because there's certain things, like, I don't see the possibility of us trading RJ for someone in his position anytime soon. We can't even trade RJ right now, but I also see that when RJ fails, he's still failing because in a way that makes me happy, because he's playing to his skill sets. His skill sets is to dribble in, to shoot, in the perimeter, to drive and stuff like that. And if he gets blocked, he gets blocked. But at least he's not chucking up Trae Young type threes. That would make me even more furious at RJ Barrett. My problem is, and I almost wore his jersey today, if Randall only played to his skill sets game in and game out, and there wasn't the retraction going back to, his poor dribbling and this, that, and whatever. Randall, you want to dribble? Fine. Study some Anthony Mason power forward dribbling skills. Learn how to dribble like Anthony Mason, and then I will never have an issue with you dribbling the ball. Those are the things where I'm like, he's not playing to his skill sets, and it's not a lack of skill, it's a lack of awareness when he starts to do those things. Like, he does not realize that he's going back to those kind of things, going back to his little, like, I don't want to play this game kind of attitude. It's those things. It's not the numbers. His numbers have been incredible. It's just when he goes back to those things that we're like, come on, man, you're better than this.
And
that I have a problem with.
And to piggyback off of Phil's point, The reason why Randle was doing this is because of the negligence from the front office, not getting the right pieces we need. That way, Julius Randle doesn't feel like he needs to be the number one scorer on the team, and he has to carry this team. When you look at our bench, we already named it. There's only one person that's coming off our bench that could score, and that's Emmanuel Quickly. So if Julius Randle is out there playing 40 minutes a game, and he's hardly getting any offense besides from Jalen Brunson or from or from RJ when RJ finally has it clicking, if Julius is out there and he's the only one that can score, he's going to try to score. Like, there's no one else that – when's the last time Quentin Grimes had a double-digit scoring game? Can somebody tell me? I don't remember the last time Quentin Grimes had a double-digit scoring game. So when it comes to what's the issue with the team, it goes back to the front office and not being able to get the right pieces for that bench. I'm a big fan of Deuce McBride. Eddie, I've been a big fan of Deuce McBride since last year. The kid can't score. He can't save. He can't shoot a three. He can't shoot a wide open three. So what's going to happen? What are other teams going to do? They're going to clog the paint. What does that do? It stops RJ from driving. It stops Randle from driving. It stops Obi from driving. If we had someone who people had to respect from the three-point range, like a Gary Trent Jr. or someone in that same ilk, then the lanes will open up so RJ can drive, so Julius can take advantage, so Obi can do his thing, so Jalen can do his thing. But we don't have that, and that goes back to the front office not getting the right pieces that we need for this bench.
And I want to point out something that JJ said, because I think personally, if we are keeping our mid-3, we need to get somebody in Grimes' position that is solely there to defend, not to be an elite scorer. Because Grimes is both kind of players, but people keep on talking about how he's not getting buckets. He's not getting touches with that starting unit the way that he was getting when he was on the second unit. So I would put Grimes back to the second unit if we're going to keep 3 ball-needing, people in our starting unit. Have someone that does not care about offense in that role. Have him just be a straight-on lockdown defender playing Grimes' position, then put Grimes and IQ back to handle the second unit. Now you got 2 people who can score, 2 people who can defend, 2 people that can move the rock in the second unit. And then we could be the ISO-heavy starting unit and the ball-moving second unit. I don't really care. But I think we're crippling Grimes by putting him in a situation where it's, hey, when you get the touches, we want to see magic. But you're not going to get a lot of touches. It doesn't play to his strong suit.
You want to get a player like Reggie Bullock?
Stop.
I don't. No fucking way.
If all we have to do is give a Nathan's hot dog and a vanilla ice CD, then yeah, make that trade.
Well, but listen, don't be hating vanilla ice CDs, all right? He probably got 1 or 2 bangers that come in the club, all right? So relax. You ever been to the clubs in Long Island? Vanilla ice be popping over there, right?
Yeah. What?
Do you guys, I mean, and I'll just do it on this topic because I see the chat talking. What is up with RJ? Right? Let's be real. Going into the season, the excuses were there, right? We've all been making excuses, right? We keep trying to make those excuses, right? But we do see those flashes of RJ at times where you're like, and then I feel like we're seeing a lot more of the, what are you doing? Get it together. We talked about the other day, right? Where the game where they should have called the foul on that dunk, right? But regardless, the beginning half of that game, RJ looked like garbage. And then, he gets the credit for the savior because he tied the game up, right? But let's be real. We talked about that game night and day. But do we have an RJ problem? For real. Do you guys feel that we have an RJ situation on our hands? Because to me, it's more and more looking like he would be better coming off with that second unit to be a piece there leading that squad.
I mean, the thing with RJ for me is he's another guy. He's consistently inconsistent. You don't know what to expect out of RJ. One game you might get 25. The next game, he always gets you around 20. But some of these nights, it's so inefficient. It's brutal. So, I don't know what to think of him. I don't know what to make of him. Just that he just needs to step up a little bit more. If the Knicks are going to be taken seriously, I need this guy to show up every single game. I need him to grow and score more than 20. I need 22 out of him a night. I need, Kyle Kuzma numbers out of RJ. Obviously, he's not going to rebound like that, but just show up every night. Knock down that shot a little bit more, especially the three. Just give us some consistency, because if it's so upsetting to watch, because I don't know how good this guy is. I really don't. He's a good player. Do I think he's a superstar? No. The answer is no. I don't.
Yeah, and my issue with RJ Barrett, and we said it when we first started the show this season, the kid gloves come off when it comes to RJ Barrett and anyone else on this team. Going into the season, Knicks fans, maybe not every Knicks fan, but the expectations for RJ was for him to be that fringe all-star, right? Not get into the all-star game, but still have the conversation that maybe he could get a couple of votes for the all-star game, right? The way he's performing right now, you could throw that conversation out the window, right? My issue with RJ, and it's always been, RJ can have a phenomenal night, drop anywhere from 25 to 30 points, right? One night. But then he'll disappear for the next 2 or 3 games. He'll score 12, 13, 15, 17 the next 2 or 3 games, and then he'll bounce back with a 26 piece, right? The last game he scored 26, 28 points against the Wizards that we played. Let's see if he even scores 15 tonight. That's the issue with 26. RJ. Yeah, that's the issue with RJ. He's not consistent. And I've been a big fan of RJ Barrett, and I think that this team, they've done a disservice to him, right? The type of player RJ Barrett was in college, he wasn't a three-point shooter in college. He was a slasher that had the ability to knock down a three-point shot. The way they're using him in this offense, keeping him out on the wing, no one's going to respect RJ's ability to shoot the three. So what's going to happen? The same thing I mentioned a little while ago. They're going to clog the paint. It's going to be hard from Julius and for Jalen Brunson to operate when that happens. We see it. Anytime Jalen Brunson is going to attack, the double team comes, the triple team comes. Anytime Julius Randle is going to operate and attack from on top of the key, the double team comes, the triple team comes. They do not respect the shooters we have on the floor. And when you add Mitch on top of it, who's a center who just sits on the post, it makes it hard for us to even have an offense that's fluid when we have all that's clogging up the middle of the paint.
This is the thing. Like, I'm not going to blame RJ, and I'm not going to blame Randall. Like, here's the thing is, I've said it a million times, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the freaking face. Our starting lineup does not work together. Like, it just doesn't. Like, if you look at all the games where RJ is shooting 45% and up, you know who's lower? Who's got, like, in the 30s? Julius Randle. When Randle is above 45% and up, you know who's below? RJ Barrett. They do not work well together. They have the same exact skill set. It's like it's like when you go to, like, when you're feeding your kids and, like, you look at, like, everybody else's plate and then you look at the kids and it's like there's a lot of the same similar kind of things that they will eat, but it's not like a full balanced meal. You're just like, I just need them to hurry up and eat and go to sleep, so I'm going to give them all the yummy things that they want, even though it's not the best meal for them, and everyone else's looks completely different. That's what's happening. Like, we do not have an actual plate of food for our league to actually, like, feast on. We have too many things that are very, very similar, and it's making it not work. RJ, I think, if he was the only one playing that role, he would be better. If Randall was the only one playing that role, he would be better. There's friction there. You can see that they like each other, but they cannot celebrate each other when they're not the ones that are getting the shine. And I think that's going to continue to be an issue no matter who you put around them. Matter of fact, I wouldn't even care that if we're going to keep the three of them, I wouldn't even care moving RJ Barrett or Julius Randle, one of them, to the second unit and having a baller team throughout all 4 quarters of basketball than having them both in the starting unit at the same time, because it doesn't work. It just isn't going to work.
Eddie, what do you think about if we had RJ coming out as the main lead on that second unit? Do you think that would be a way to utilize him? I mean, granted, it doesn't work right now because we still need more depth and we need pieces. But if we know they're not going to get rid of him, what would you do with him?
I mean, you're talking about RJ?
Yeah.
I mean, you watch him with the second unit. I mean, the other night with the Wizards, he was playing with the second unit. And, you know, I wasn't impressed. I've got to be honest. You know, I wasn't overly impressed. But that's what RJ is. You know, he's Jekyll and Hyde. You know, one night against, you know, the Raptors, he's throwing down dunks, showing the bag. The next night he's, shooting up 26 shots and hitting 8 of them. That's who RJ is. He's just, an inconsistent dude. By putting him on the bench, do I think this makes the team better? I don't. I don't know. I mean, they just got to find a way to make it work. And if it doesn't this summer, they got to look at this team and start asking themselves some serious questions. Does this work? Or if it doesn't, what can we get for these guys? What can we get in return? How can we pivot? You know what I mean? It's not hard. We have to. These guys are talented. We'll get something back for them. Yeah. That's a fact. They don't make tons of money. So as long as we can do that, we'll be fine, in my opinion.
If RJ is relegated to a bench role, this would just look as another sore thumb or sore eye on the front office, because
contract will terrible.
This is the guy. One, you gave him the contract extension. Two, you didn't want to put him in the trade for Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. So what happened 6 months later? You move him to the bench? Yeah. That right there, Leon Rose won't get another job in the NBA if that's the case. No. You'll be the laughing stock of the league if that's what happens. You didn't trade Donovan. You didn't trade this guy for Donovan Mitchell, but you gave him an extension, and now he's a bench player making 20-something million coming off of the bench. That just goes to show how comical of a franchise we have been. And would I be surprised if that happened? No. Why? Because it's the Knicks thing to do, Eddie. Like, that's some Knicks shit to do right there when it comes to those type of moves, bro.
I hope fucking not, man. I hope RJ could, continually to grow as a player, to, get better and things like that. But you never know with the Knicks. But I think right now, I think this mid-3 is all right. I do. I agree with you, Phil, to an extent where it kind of doesn't fit. But, what else are we going to do? I don't want to trade RJ or Randall for something below, like bench players. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, or make a trade just to make a trade.
Yeah, like that's stupid. Like, I don't ever want to do that. Like, I wouldn't trade any of these guys for like Gary Trent or OG. Maybe OG, but I wouldn't do that. I would try to keep upgrading, upgrading. And through free agency, that's when you sign guys in your bench. Trading for bench players is fucking crazy, man. I understand second rounders, even, one of those bullshit picks that I'll never convey. That's fine. But if you're talking about first round picks, I'm not trading bench players for first round picks. No fucking way.
Yeah. And with the way that RJ's Barrett, his contract is constructed right now, with that poison pill in it, if he's traded to a team, that poison pill automatically kicks in, and then his salary goes from like $25 million to $30 million.
No.
Right?
What happens is it just counts as like 26 and a half against the other team's cap. Yeah. We're only sending out 10, but they have to have 26 million to take in. So basically, from now until July 1st, they have to have almost $26 million in cap space just to trade for him. Yeah, and most teams don't have that.
Who's going to waste $26 million in cap space to trade for RJ Barrett? Let's be real.
Well, I mean, maybe teams like the Spurs, they actually have that cap space. They can do it, and without sending anything back out. But come July 1st, the poison pill goes to shit, and then RJ goes down to about 23, 24 million a year. So that's what the extension kicks in.
Phil, kick it off with the projections for tonight against the Hawks, bro. What's your projections for tonight? And let's throw it around before we dip out.
Do we know if everybody's healthy with the Hawks right now?
I haven't seen any reports about players being out, so I'm expecting everyone to be healthy. I may be wrong, but I'm just expecting everybody to be healthy.
Okay. What were you saying, Eddie?
I don't know if Capella's out or not. That was one of the things we brought up the other night. We're not sure on that. So if he's healthy, it's going to change the scope of the game because, we have no center. So measure Ihart against Capella. I'm not saying Capella's anything special, but, he's going to dog Ihart. So that could be a potential problem.
Yeah. So for me, it's definitely going to come down to,
Okay. Trey and Bogdanovich are questionable.
Really?
I think it's okay. So if that's the case, that increases our chances. My fear is they are a 3-point shooting team. And if you look at the last game that we played against them, part of our plus was that they were missing those threes. And Mitch and Randall were grabbing those boards. You look, Isaiah Hartenstein is not the rebounder that we need him to be. So even if they miss those threes, if we don't have someone to grab those boards and we give them second chance points, they're going to eat us alive from that 3-point line. So that's one thing we have to be careful of because our perimeter defense is trash. We all know that. We are not a good 3-point defending team. And if they get the rebounds and they have 2 or 3 chances to fix their miss, that's going to be a problem. But the thing with the Hawks that's so hard is like, if you look at them, they're such an up and down team that it's like they'll spank somebody that you were surprised that they beat. And then the next day, they take a whooping from someone that you thought they were going to crush. Like, it's a very weird, season for these guys. So I think there's a chance. But I don't think it'll be a blowout, either way. I'm thinking either team will wind up being like a 6 to 8 point, takeaway. But I think it's going to be huge difference if those 2 guys are out. I think we'll do a lot better, which is sad to say. Like, I think we'll do great if they have 2 guys that aren't there. But I think if we played the way we played the last game against the Wizards, we'll lose. That's my opinion.
Go ahead, Jigga.
Yeah. I see a lot of this in our future.
Yeah.
And I'm worried. I'm really worried to see iHeart out there. I don't know. Like I said, guys, I never go into any of these games, and I never on our show say win, loss, here's how many points, right? I just feel like I just want to see answers to the questions we have. And again, hey, we're being forced to where we're going to get to see some more Sims time, see some Obi time. So I just want to see if we can finally have an answer with Obi over the next couple of games on, hey, yeah, maybe we should keep him, or, hey, we need to start really thinking of moving him. And, man, I hope Sims – I just want to see some improvement from the kid. The dude can jump. He can be an amazing athlete. He just still looks like, when Bambi first came out, the legs are still like all wobbly, and you had that rabbit sitting there, Thumper, like, Bambi, flower. Like, that's how I look at Sims when he's out there. Like, he has it all, but he still doesn't have it all together up here. So I'm hoping this is going to force us to see some time for him to improve as well. But I think it's going to be rough tonight. I really do. Yeah. And I hate to say it. It's going to be rough.
Yeah. What about you, Eddie?
I mean, they're going to Atlanta. I don't know. DeJounte Murray's been playing better of late, bro. Guys, I don't think it's looking good. I think tonight's an L. I do. After the last 2 games, the Knicks they're a funny team too. They're a very bipolar team. We go on an 8-game winning streak, then we go on a 5-game losing streak. Then, we win 5 in a row. They're fucking – this is a crazy team
what's even crazier, Eddie, is I feel more confident with us on the road than I do at home, bro.
100%.
I feel we have a better option of winning tonight because we're not at home.
Right.
Such a crazy season.
I don't understand the Garden, man. That's a whole other story for another day, but they play better on the road. That's a fact. It's just facts. It's just what it is.
We are 11-13 at home. 11-13 at home. How is that your record at home in the Garden of all places? I don't know what it is. Me tonight, like Eddie said, the last game against the Wizards, I said it was a trap game. One of those games that we could think that we're going to win it, but look what happened. Yeah. This game tonight is another one of those games, but it's more leaning on the favor of us losing because we don't have Mitchell Robinson. If Clint Capella's not playing, thank God, but they still have a nice backup center that could probably start on 5 other NBA teams around the league, right? So let's just see what happens. When it comes to Isaiah Hartenstein playing center, honestly, Eddie, I'd rather my grandma be out there with a chocolate that. At least that Puerto Rican lady can hold things down. So
he's such – I don't want to see anything with iHeart. I don't, but, we had – what choice do we have? But I would start Sims over him. I would even look to go small. Put Randall at the 5, throw in Obi at the 4. At this point, how much worse can it get? iHeart being out there. He's fucking terrible. Enough.
He's a class. All right, let's do that. Guys, let's end it on this. I saw Carlos threw a question out there for us on the panel.
Go ahead.
We'll answer this one, and we'll get out of here. But Carlos said, quick question, guys. Who are you taking the winning shot with the same team? LeBron, Kyrie, or Reggie Miller? Who are you taking that final shot? Who you got, Eddie? Who do you want taking that final shot?
The final shot, I mean, I was old enough to remember Reggie, so I'm going to go with Reggie Miller, man. That guy was fucking money.
Facts.
You know?
Same. I'm going with Reggie Miller also.
Reggie.
Carlos, that's a great question. I'm going with Reggie Miller.
You know why it's not a good question? Is because we have to sit here as Knicks fans and say Reggie Miller.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm old enough to remember the days when he'd shoot that three and look back at the camera and be like, ha ha. So yeah, Reggie the killer used to kill us, man. Reggie all day. Because no matter where he was at, that man was giving you a shot every time.
Under time.
Now, granted,
Bad news.
he doesn't give
Bad
really
news.
good analysis.
What do you got?
Uh-oh.
Isaiah Hartenstein is our starting center.
Oh,
It's
God.
been announced.
All right,
Son,
that's it. Friday's
son.
over. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh, that's
It's on NBA.
Well,
debut
that's
lineup
fun.
Announcements.
That's fun.
So,
I'm
yeah.
drinking early today. I'm
God.
drinking early today. It's 5:00 somewhere in the world. But this has been an awesome episode of the Knicks Morning Brew. Shout out to the chat. Chris Joseph, appreciate you. Carlos with the K. Pudgy Nice in the building like always. JJ, I see you. JJ, you got to come on the open panel, my guy. 19 comment like always. Appreciate you. SK the Smoking Nick, who's not just an open panel guest. He's a staple of the open panel. My man Bones from the BX. Salute. 3 capital S's. Won the Mint 55. Jiggaman Porto. What's up?
Real quick, Eddie, before you go, man, let everybody know where they can follow you and, make sure you guys tune in to the Let's Talk Knicks Twitter Spaces post game. I always forget we have pre-game, mid-halftime post. We got all kinds of stuff. Tell them where they follow you.
I'm always doing Let's Talk Knicks post games. That's where I'm at. You can find me there after the game's over. But you'll find me doing the post games. My ad's right there. NBA Cap Wiz. I throw out crazy trades on Twitter, and if people like them. So that's what I do when baseball season comes around. I do Mets post games with Edge and Cousins.
Hey,
I don't know if you guys know about them.
Yeah, I know Edge.
Yeah. So those guys are fucking awesome. So
nice.
And now I'm just in Knicks mode. I'm in with Let's Talk Knicks, and I even do a late night space sometimes with State and my boy Cousins on Knicks Spaces. It's called the Non-Company, man. So I appreciate you guys having me on the show, man. I had a lot of fun with you guys. It's fun, man.
Yeah, of course. Eddie, anytime you want to come back, and we do a Yankee show, Yankees Morning Brew. I know you said you do the Mets stuff.
Yeah, we do the Mets.
If you want to collab, and because I love just talking baseball. I'm not one of those Yankee fans that just my fandom goes crazy. No, I'd rather just talk baseball. And Jiggaman would tell you I could talk baseball for days. So anytime you want to link up, we could definitely collab with that.
That's a spot that's not taken in the Twitter world. Like, nobody does Yankee Spaces. I mean, I was doing it after playoff games, but nobody does it. So it's a little thought for you
about doing that.
Yeah, we was talking about that.
Yankees, so we're definitely thinking about doing that.
Yeah.
But the other guys I want to plug real quick is the U Stadium guys I work with. That's a thing. If you guys want to do a take or something, you can make money on your take. So you would say, Brunson's going to be an all-star. If people agree with it, you great. And it happens, you make money. If it doesn't happen, you lose money. But that's U Stadium and us. We do the baseball. That's why I wanted to do that.
Okay.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, guys, in the chat, I'll tell you now, I know tonight the Knicks Morning Brew crew will be hanging out post-game with Eddie and those guys. Make sure to join that. We got great takes that go on in that. Eddie, appreciate you again, bro. Open door policy, man. Anytime man. You want to come back.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Facts. And chat, thanks for hanging out with us. Wish I could say we're going to have a really exciting game tonight, but it's not feeling that way. But
I need to get,
go Knicks.
I need to get Eddie a late Christmas gift. You know what I'm going to get for Eddie? I'm going to get him that like Captain America saying language on a t-shirt for Eddie. That's what
I think I'm better around you guys than when I'm on the spaces. I'm fucking terrible on those spaces, man. I mean, it's bad. So maybe because I see you guys, I got to be a little bit more professional and stuff.
Eddie.
So
all good, bro. All good, bro.
On that note, peace. We out. Hit those buttons. Let's do that thing where we
I'm trying to press the button. Here's the button. Peace.